So who found something that you weren't quite sure of, Erica?
On 8C, I got a different answer because I broke down like the final answer, like reduced it, and then when I divided they were different.
Okay, let's look at 8. Let's do problem 8 because we can't do 8C without doing 8A. So let's just go ahead and do that. So we're going to do problem number 8. Remembering, boys and girls, that your test looks just like this. So you are going to have a projectile motion problem. Those of you that have been leaving them blank and not trying them, you've got to do them. This is worth a lot of points on the test. This equation will be given to you. So now we're going to do part A. It says, write the equation for this problem. All right, so they gave you in the reading, they should have given you an initial velocity and an initial height. All right, what is the initial velocity? 80. So we have plus 80t. What is the initial height? 20. There is the answer to part A. That's all you have to do for part A. This represents the height, and this represents the time in seconds. So for part B, you are going to plug in either a height or a time. So let's read part B. How high is the ball after 1 second? All right? So think about that. What are you going to do with that 1? Is that 1 a height or is that 1 a time? It's a time. It says 1 second. So we're going to figure out the height if we let the time be 1. Right? Now, when you do this, what's getting squared? The 1, just the 1. So this is negative 16 times 1. It's negative 16 plus 80 plus 20. That's 84 feet. How tall is that ball above the ground? 84 feet. Easy. All right, now the one she actually asked about. When is the ball on the ground? Come back to this equation. This is the equation you're using for B and for C. Come back to this right here. You either are going to plug a number in here or you're going to plug a number in here. When is the ball on the ground? Zach Bond, how high is the ball if it's on the ground?
0.
0. So we're going to put 0 in for the height. And now solve it. Now, I don't know how you want to solve that. What was your thought, Julian?
You take a 4 out.
I would take a 4 out. Now, I want to emphasize, when you're completing the square, if you're going to complete the square, you have to get rid of this number. When you're doing the quadratic formula, you don't have to do anything. You can just take that equation right there and go for it. I am lazy, so I'm going to divide everything by -4 so that my numbers are not so big. You do not have to do this. So Erica, is this where we went, where we got a little different? No? Okay. So this is the equation now that I am going to solve. It's the same equation, just has smaller numbers. So here we go, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
It would be negative.
I divided by -4, yeah, just so I didn't have that negative situation. Okay, so I got 480, Erica, did you?
Yeah.
And then what did you say? You broke down the 480?
Yeah, to root 30.
Oh, that's your problem. 480 would break down into 4 times 120, which is 2 times 2, 12 times 10, 2, 2. This is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 5. So it's got a 2 and a 2. So it's going to be 4 root 30. 4 root 30. I think you lost this guy maybe.
Yeah, I didn't times the 2 twos.
Okay, yeah. Now, want to just make a quick comment about this. For this problem, I would like you to actually answer it appropriately, and that is, here's the deal. If you were in gym class and the teacher said, how long does it take the ball to hit the ground? Nobody's going to say 20 plus root 480 divided by 8, right? No, you're not going to say that. You're going to say 3.1 seconds or something like that. So for this one, I would like you to go ahead and answer decimally. And if we're going to ultimately answer decimally, don't even waste your time breaking it down. Just go ahead and type in the 480. Okay? So the answers we get, and I want to talk about that too, because I want to make sure that when you type this in, and I've been making a big deal about it, 20 plus the square root of 480, enter. After you put in your numerator, hit enter, and then divided by 8. And I got 5.23. Then 20 minus the square root of 480, enter, divided by 8. Negative 0.24. Now, what's the unit on these? This is after 5.23 seconds and after negative 0.24 seconds. What about that? We don't like negative time, right? So when does the ball hit the ground? After 5.23 seconds. Moses?
Is it always only the positive one for this type of problem?
Well, if we're talking about time, yes. Yes. Okay, so Eric, are we good?
Yep.
All right. Now, let's take a look at number 9. Number 9, we actually had a quiz over this. What are we looking for? We've been given a couple points. What are we looking for in problem number 9A? We're looking for the distance between these 2 points. So how does the distance formula work? Remember, it's a big radical, right? So 4 minus 6 squared. Yep, there we go. Remember, it's x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. And 4 minus 6 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. 1 minus 11 is negative 10, and negative 10 squared is 100. So we have the square root of 104. Now let's see, does 104 break down? It's 4 times 26, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 13. 2 root.
I was doing math in my head.
2 root
No,
26. 2 times 13.
Oh, that's a 2. That was
Yeah.
a 7.
No, that's a 2. So 2 root 26 is our answer. You're going to need to bring your own box of Kleenex. Right. Jamal?
We had a 3C.
Oh, wait, I'm not done. C, 9B, and then I'll do 3C. 9B, how do we find midpoint? Average. So we are going to add the x's and divide by 2. Add the y's, divide by 2. Everybody okay with that? All right, now 3C. 3C is a solve problem, and I want you to think about the quiz, the big quest that we took that had 4 problems on it, because we practiced 4 different methods of solution on that. So we had, what were our 4 methods we had? We had factoring, we had completing the square, we had the quadratic formula, and we had the squaring both sides. I'll write it like that, where we squared both sides. And we had graphing. I forgot about that. We had graphing. So we actually have 5 methods that we have that we talked about a lot in terms of solving equations. So here's your equation, Jamal. Or Brooke, are you going to ask for this?
Yeah.
Here it is. Now, some of these I'm just going to rule out immediately. First of all, we're not allowed to use our calculator on this problem, so we're not going to graph it. There's no radical in it, so we're not going to be squaring both sides, right? I mean, I don't think we want to square anything in there, so we're not going to do that.
There's 4 numbers, so you can't do quadratic.
You can't do the quadratic formula because, first of all, it's not quadratic, but practically speaking, you have an A, B, C, and D. It's like, what am I going to do with that D floating around? You can't complete the square because it's not a squared equation. It's a cube equation. So why, I guess we kind of narrowed it down. We're going to have to factor it. Now, it's got too many terms, though.
So we split it.
But we split it. It's called factoring by grouping. So we're going to look at the first 2, just the first 2. And what can we take out of the first 2? An x squared. What will be left from the first 2 if we take out an x squared? X plus 3. Roll call, you paying attention? Okay. Now I'm going to look at the last 2.
The negative.
What can I take out of the last 2? A negative 4. Now watch it, I took out the negative and the 4. So it would be x plus 3. Now, gang, when you factor by grouping, these have to match. If those don't match, you've made a mistake. Or I made a mistake in the problem. Okay? So assuming the problem is a good problem, that I've made a good problem, that these should match. So the next step is you write down the factor that matches. You don't square it, you don't double it, you just write it down. And then in a second parentheses, you write down everything else. So we got the x plus 3 taken care of, so what's left? X squared minus 4. Now at this point, Nathaniel, do you remember what to do with x squared minus 4?
Factor it.
How?
X minus 2, x minus 2. And
X
plus,
minus,
plus 2.
there you go. X minus 2, x plus 2. Exactly. That's called the difference of squares. They pop up all the time in these problems. X plus 2, x minus 2. Now it's factored. So what are our answers? X is going to equal negative 3 to negative 2. There we go. Jake Hill, does that make sense to you? Okay. Harry.
2B.
2B. Now, 2B is a classic example of how there are lots of ways to do the problem, but I am going to do this the way I've been doing it, and that's with the number line. With these absolute value problems, I draw my number line, and then I put a little number right here, and then I'm going to count back and forth from that number. because absolute value is distance. When you first learned about absolute value, you learned about it as the distance from the origin. Now I'm talking about the distance from a number. What is the number here that I'm going to use to count back and forth, Connor?
-2.
-2. Connor remembers it's exactly the same phenomenon as here. When the parentheses was x plus 3, what did the answer turn out to be? -3? Opposite, right? This is the same thing. Whatever's inside, this isn't really a parentheses, it's an absolute value, but whatever's in there, the opposite of it goes here. That is not part of the answer. That's your beginning point. To get your answer, you're going to count back and forth how many? So you're going to say +7, that would put you at 5, and -7, that would put you at -9. Now those two numbers are the answer. You just have to decide if you're going to go this way or if you're going to go in between, and that depends on that symbol. If that symbol is greater than, we push out. So we are looking at these numbers and these numbers. Everything less than -9 or greater than 5. Remember that? What?
I actually solved the problem.
Yep.
Between the number lines
Yep.
by like separating.
Yep,
apart.
you absolutely can do that. That will always work. That will always work. You can do that. Remember, I don't care how you do it.
As long as
You gotta end up with the same answer as I do, and you can't cheat. Other than that, do whatever flips your switch.
For 2A, how do you know, what to do for it? Because I did the quadratic formula, but then when I went to go check what I did, it was, you did it a different way.
Okay,
So I was
listen, I want you to hear her question. She said 2A. She said, when I solved 2A, I used the quadratic formula. Look at problem 2A. Would that be appropriate to use the quadratic formula on that problem? Heck yeah, it's a quadratic equation, right? Do the directions say solve by doing this? No, the directions just say solve. You're fine.
I just always got a different answer, so I was like.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yep. We should all get the same answer, right, no matter what? So one of us is wrong. So
It's definitely,
you use the quadratic formula?
yeah.
So -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you got 1 plus or minus the square root of what? I've got a double negative. That's an add. So that's going to be 49, isn't it?
Okay,
And
that's right.
49 is 7.
I added, I did it wrong. I got 48, so I did it wrong.
This is 48.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So 1 plus 7 over 12 would be 8/12, which is 2/3.
Yeah.
And 1 minus 7 over 12 is -6/12 or -1/2. So hopefully those are the
Yeah,
answers I
I
got.
understand what I got, yeah, that's it.
One comforting fact is on the practice test, there's nothing that says solve a particular way, right? So if you like the quadratic formula, you can solve all your quadratics with the quadratic formula. Or whatever you want to do. All right, anything else from the practice test?
I see number 4. I think I did
4.
added.
Yeah, and let's run through the properties real quick. Number 1A, and then we're going to do number 4. Number 1A, property, additive inverse, additive inverse. When you have an opposite or a reciprocal, it's an inverse. That's the additive inverse. What about B? Associative of addition. What about C? Multiplicative inverse. It has a reciprocal. All right, number 4. A or B?
It's B.
All right, let's look at B. 4B. All right, this is a monster problem. How do we simplify this? And if you say cancel, so help me, I will hit you. You cannot cancel when there are adds and subtracts. Okay? If you have multi-piece problems, you have to cancel out of everything.
You have to foil
What are we going to foil, Moses? You are right. We're going to foil. What are we going to
the
foil?
bottom, and then opposite and reciprocal on the top.
Okay, so tell me what you're going to foil down here. What am I going to multiply by here?
2 plus negative, plus 3i.
Yep, 2 plus 3i. That is called, anybody remember what this is called? The conjugate. So we're going to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. And as Moses said, it is a gigantic FOIL problem because we have to FOIL the top and the bottom. So here we go. FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. Here we go. First, outside, inside, last. First, outside, inside, last.
The 2 in the middle will cancel.
On the bottom, the 2 in the middle will cancel. On the top, the 2 in the middle will add together. Right? Now, you must deal with this. What is I squared? -1. Kids, highlight it. You have to take out the I squared and replace it with a -1. Okay? So on top, this is going to become what? -9. Added to the 8 is going to give me a -1. So on the top, I have -1 plus 18i. What's this going to become? Remember, I squared is -1. What's that going to become? +9 added to the 4 gives me a 13. Now, you're not even tempted to cancel anything there. But do remember, if it had been -2 plus 7i over 6, you might be tempted to cancel. Don't. Because unless you can do it with all 3, you cannot do it. Anybody else have a question about something on practice test 2? Did you remember on 3B to check your answer? Okay, remember that those are the kind you have to check when you square both sides. And it would be just like me to put an extraneous root problem on the test. And you'll know it if you check, but if you don't check, you'll miss that. Any question, Jack? Did you have a question over here? I don't know why I thought you did. Everybody good? All right, here's what I want you to do right now. Everybody have an iPad? I want you to take a picture of practice test 3. And here's why. Or somebody can get a picture and send it to Erica. But here's why I want you to do it. You can do it on your phone. If you want to do it on your phone, I'm fine. Whatever's easiest for you, phone or iPad. Here's why I want you to take a picture of it. Because we're going to work on that for the rest of the period. It's going to be your homework tonight. And I want you to have a fresh one to maybe do Monday at home before you come in and take the test. So your picture will be your fresh one. Because I'm not going to make you another copy. Tomorrow night's homework will be some book exercises. But the practice test is your best thing. Okay? So everybody got a picture of it before you start doing it? Quit reading your email and take a picture. Everybody needs a picture of the practice test 3.